Hello and welcome. Happy Wednesday. We're in our last Wednesday of September, right? Oh, please don't tell me this is not October 1st. No, September 30th. So I'm really excited to bring on Glenda Watson Hyatt to our last show of September. She is absolutely amazing and has so much to share. I do invite you to give us an extra couple minutes just in case we go over because really, I don't know if I can fit her into 15 minutes, honestly. And I joked that I was just going to introduce her and then mute myself. So be very excited for Glenda today. Here we go. All right. Hello, Glenda. How are you?
I am excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let me take off our, here we go. All right. So, what a wonderful way to connect. And I believe you are in another country. Where are you? Yes, in Canada. So I think this is my first international stream. So thank you so much for being my first. Really cool. I'm also excited to share that I was introduced to you by my podcast co host, Martin Sibley. Yes, and I don't know how you two know each other, but in 2016, he was named the third most influential person with a disability in Britain. And I know, yes, and that was from his, he had created Accomable, which is an accessibility site for travel, and exited that to Airbnb, which is really cool. And then he continues to be an absolute leader in the disability space. He has the Disability Horizon, which is an online magazine, and then he just launched the Purple Goat Disability Marketing Company. So excited. And he said to me, "You have got to meet Glenda, and you need to talk with her." And so we are actually talking with you on a number of levels. One is the interview, and then the other is you joining us on the Brainiac Council as we start to develop our headset next year or this year and next year. So thank you so much for being a part of all of this with us. I'm finally going to let you talk and then I'm going to sit back. So can you share a little bit about yourself with us, Glenda?
Arbitrarily starting this story with my 7 years of university, during which my main form of communication was notes I had typed beforehand on my typewriter. Currently visible behind me.
Wow.
I went through several dozen pads of post-it notes, which I dubbed my talking papers. I also never left my apartment without my alphabet card, my security blanket. 7 years later, I graduated from Simon Fraser University with my Bachelor of Arts degree in hand. I now had to navigate a whole new world. Employment. Do you know how many entry-level positions required telephone skills and a typing speed of 60 words per minute?
Wow.
Neither of which were within my realm if possible. After my one and only part-time job, I was left without another option. I hesitantly opted for the only route in front of me, that of self-employment. Meanwhile, I watched while classmates and friends with somewhat comparable physical disabilities landed jobs and built successful careers. The main difference between our disabilities is my inability to speak clearly. Ironically, online tools have enabled me to meet and communicate with people from around the world.
Yes.
While learning how to run a business, I accepted whatever contracts came my way. Most of these I undertook for the sole reason of putting food on the table and helping pay the mortgage, which, by the way, will be fully paid off next June.
Yay! Congratulations. Gosh, I wish we could do that. That's amazing.
Eventually, I built myself a solid reputation in the field of web accessibility. I worked my way up until I was charging a respectable fee. After 15 years of explaining, repeatedly, why accessible websites are necessary, I burned out. Right before web accessibility became a thing, of course.
You paved the way.
Then the iPad entered the picture, which was a game changer for me in terms of communication. The release of the text-based AAC app, Proloquo for Text, came 3 years later. With these advances in technology, I created my own dream career, that of being an internationally known, well-paid keynote speaker.
Yes.
Because that is the next obvious career choice for someone labeled as functionally nonverbal by professionals.
Amazing, Glenda.
How deliciously ironic is that?
Yes, I love those two words together.
My dream culminated last November, a mere 6 years after the release of Proloquo for Text, when I delivered my TEDxSFU talk, now available on the official TED website.
Yes, and we will also drop that link in the chat, Glenda. Yep, for anybody who wants to watch it, it's amazing.
My 16-minute talk can be boiled down to, regardless of whether you are working on inclusive hiring practices, planning public forums and events, developing accessibility legislation, and the list continues. Ask the question, how would people with communication disabilities be included?
Yes.
You don't need to know the how. You will make a difference by asking this one question. Be sure to check out my entire talk on TED.com. The pandemic has thrown a spanner into my dream career, with the cancellation of live events for the foreseeable future.
Right.
This has provided me with an opportunity to adapt, yet again. Last week, I delivered my first virtual keynote to the Talking AAC conference, from the comforts of home, to SLPs, teachers, and parents, based in Michigan and beyond.
Beautiful. Was that with Mary Houston? No.
Along the way, I also became the social media coordinator for the Canadian chapter of the International Society for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. And
Wonderful.
I have worked with Communication Disabilities Access Canada on several projects. My nearly 54 years of experience living with a communication disability is, finally, not a liability, but rather a valuable asset.
How do you have so many years, Glenda, if you're only 21?
I do.
Through various projects and committees, I aim to increase awareness, understanding, and inclusion of people who use alternative means of communication, this systemically overlooked and devalued segment of our society.
Absolutely. Thank you. Glenda, that's amazing. I know that your passion is profuse in everything that you do. And, we talk about leadership, and you are an absolute leader in this space to say, yes, you did reach the ability to be an in-person presenter, but you're willing to be flexible and now do this virtually. Yes. And how did that work for you? Awesome. It was awesome. Wonderful, Glenda. Okay, so with all of these accomplishments, you are obviously still very involved, and I'd say at the cutting edge of what's going on with AAC, right? Obviously with accessibility and access. And as I mentioned in the beginning, is that you're working with us at Cognition to give us your expert feedback and advice on the headset. What do you see as what is next? Let's see, let's bring this up. Or what is new? Let's go with what's new. What is new in the area of AAC?
With this pandemic, people with communication disabilities are being admitted to hospital, oftentimes alone.
Yes.
And without communication assistance or supports. Other patients are being placed on ventilators, leaving them with no means to communicate.
Yes.
This health crisis has spotlighted the need for communication assistance within hospitals. Communication within the healthcare setting is critical.
Yes.
Some areas have recognized that personal care assistants and communication assistants are, indeed, essential workers and have made an exception to the no visitors allowed policy.
Yes.
But this exception is not wide-sweeping, requiring advocating jurisdiction by jurisdiction, state by state, or province by province. It is time-consuming, but so necessary. On a more positive note, our Accessible Canada Act was finally enacted in May of 2019. As far as I know, this is the first accessibility legislation that explicitly includes communication in the definition of disability.
Wonderful.
The next step is to ensure the accessibility requirements of Canadians living with communication disabilities are included in the accessibility standards.
Mm-hmm.
The advocating needs to be continuous, repetitive, and clear. And finally, Barb McCauley and her team at Communication Disabilities Access Canada is about to release a substantial resource on communication supports in exercising capacity and autonomy. This resource will be launched very soon.
Excellent.
Be sure to like Communication Disabilities Access Canada's Facebook page to be in the know as soon as the resource is available. I am excited to share that I will be doing the social media to get this much-needed resource out nationally and internationally.
Excellent. You kind of answering a couple questions that have popped up, but I'm going to show it anyway. Thank you. You read minds too. So Andreas Forslund, our CEO of Cognition, he asks, do you have any advice on how best to raise awareness of AAC? And I know that you're involved in all of these initiatives. So you mentioned Access Canada resource page. We'll make sure to put that in the chat. And then what are some other things that we should be watching out for?
This new resource launches tomorrow.
Wow. Okay, wonderful. Great. And then what can we do to help spread that news?
Help spread the word on social media.
Excellent. Yeah. We don't realize how powerful our posts and shares are, right? So true. Thank you so much. All right. So let's find out, what do you see for the future in AAC?
Before I type words onto a screen, I have typically drafted them in my head first. Emails, speeches, Facebook posts, everything are written first in my head and then typed. Back when I was a teen in high school, I had this dream, this fantasy of a cat that would read my thoughts and type them directly into the computer. and totally bypass the slow process of typing with my left thumb at the painstakingly slow rate of 10 words per minute.
Wow.
As I shared in my autobiography, I'll do it myself, which, yes, is available on Amazon. I wrote that I am convinced that if I wore the cap at night, when most of my creative thoughts come to me, and then edited the text in the morning, I would accomplish so much more. I need to be patient for technology to catch up to my quirky needs. With the state of current technology, I have a very strong feeling that technology is extremely close to catching up to my quirky needs and to turning my childhood fantasy into reality.
Yes, Glenda, we are getting close. I love using the words brain-computer interface, and we know that that's being used in so many areas. And Cognition is one of the first companies to be working in the area of communication. And it's just been it's been an amazing ride. We currently have headsets that we are able to begin doing some human factor assessments with. And it's just incredible. We are blessed to have people like yourself on our team, in addition to neurologists, expert SLPs who are specific in the area of AAC, communication users like yourself who have come from, like you're saying, this whole journey. I can't even believe that you're using a typewriter. I love that you have it behind you. Yes, we all have a typewriter story, just so you know, I do too. You know, the kind where the key comes up and hits the ribbon. Oh my gosh. But it's amazing how fast technology is moving and, you know, how we're going to be able to use it to help to communicate. Oh, just incredible. Well, Glenda, this has been amazing. I want to thank you again for taking the time to share with us. Obviously, we're so impressed with all the things that you are doing in Canada with Isaac, and then continuing to educate and help us to be a part of that forward movement.
Thank you for having me on the show today.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye, Glenda. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another amazing edition of AAC What's New, What's Next. This episode has been brought to you by the Speak Pros app, which offers an intuitive interface that allows people to express themselves using face and eye tracking technology on the iPad. If you want more information or to get a free professional copy, you can contact me directly, or you can go to speakpros.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you in October.